Hey, welcome to the first ever check-in session of 2026. I have Michael Forster here. My name is Mumshad, and we'll be your host for today. Welcome, Michael. Welcome to the session.
Thank you. Thank you for having me in 2026. What a way to kick off the year here.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me just bring in, just share my screen and bring the deck I have here. Meanwhile, wherever you're from, please do send a message here. Let us know where you're from and what you do. And obviously, we're going to take questions throughout. So if you have any questions, please do drop them in the messages. All right. So a very happy new year to everyone. Is my screen visible? I don't see that.
I don't see it yet either.
Let's try again.
There we go.
There you go. All right. Yeah, happy new year to everyone. Happy new year to you, Michael. Tell us a little bit about where you are and how you're starting this new year.
Let's see. So I'm currently in Austin, Texas. Actually, starting the new year off by helping a friend, which is a joy, right? Who actually asked for help, and I think the new year is kicked off with a bang. Kind of like tracking all kind of the new stuff that's happened after taking 2 weeks to kind of rest and rejuvenate and relax. I think like a lot of people, and so kind of getting recontextualized and kind of getting excited about the things that are coming for the year: conferences, talks, new certifications, new initiatives, and of course, all of the new stuff that's emerging in DevOps and AI for 2026. So yeah. Excited about the year just as I look at it. So
yeah, great, awesome. Yeah, I'd love to talk about all of that, as we go through this session. But yeah, I see a lot of people are sending messages. Let's see, what do we have? So we have Janet from Sri Lanka. We have Flavio. We have Sasanka, also from Sri Lanka. We have Ehsan from Austria. Mukul from India. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us, guys. We have a lot of people from India, Pakistan, Austin, Sweden, Austria, Sri Lanka. Thanks for joining in. Yeah, a lot of people. I'll just share a little bit of like what we're planning to do today. So one, we'll go through and celebrate some achievers, those who have recently completed the certifications, and we'll also talk a little bit about what's coming up this year from KodeKloud, or this quarter, basically. We have some interesting cohorts that are starting, some new cohorts that are starting, so I'll talk a little bit about that. And we'll also be at CubeCon Europe. So that's also, if any of you are planning to attend CubeCon Europe 2026, I think it's end of March, then we'll absolutely love to see you there in person. All of us are going to be there, so it's going to be very exciting. All right, so just to congratulate those who have recently completed the certifications or become Kubestronauts, we have Tarindu Kavinda, who is a senior cloud engineer, who's recently completed his CKA certification. We have Ryan Hedfee, who's a DevOps engineer at Actia Engineering Services, who's also recently completed the CKA. We have Nicholas Letts, who's recently become a Kubestronaut. So congratulations to Nicholas. We have Aditya Jain. We have Aniket Nihare, Nikhil Thakre. We have Anishka Saxena. We have Desir Ntambie, who's recently completed the CKS certification. We have Salomon, who's also recently completed the CKAD. We have Abdul M, who is a senior engineer, who's also completed the CKS certification. Dhananjaya, who's recently completed the CKAD. So congratulations to all of them who's recently completed the certifications. just continuing to the other certs outside of, I guess, the Kubernetes ones, we have the AWS Solutions Architect. So LES was recently completed the AWS Solutions Architect certification. Arun Tomar, who's recently done the PCA, the Prometheus Certified certification. Cosme Cabello, who's recently completed the Argo certification. Salman Asia, who's recently completed the HashiCorp Cloud Engineer certification. Fatima, who's done the Argo certification. Labish, who's completed all of the certifications needed for Golden Kubestronaut. Congratulations, Labish.
Right. Yeah. Well done.
Well done. And then we have Wissam Kadri, who's recently done his Cilium certification. So yeah, congratulations to everyone who's recently become a Kubestronaut, Golden Kubestronaut, or are in the process of getting their 15 certifications needed to become a Golden Kubestronaut. Awesome job, guys. All right. Just moving on. A couple of things that we had recently launched, and this is something that we can talk about, are the 100 Days of Cloud. So a few months back, I think mid last year, we had started the 100 Days of DevOps, and that we got a lot of traction on that. A lot of people signed up and have been completing the daily tasks. And so we thought we'll do the next one on cloud. So we released a 100 Days of Cloud. So that's like 50-50, 50 AWS tasks and 50 Azure tasks. Around a month ago. Again, a lot of people are trying that out. So basically what this is you get one task a day, and it's like starts with really simple, easy tasks, creating an SSH pair to access systems, and creating security groups and subnets and things like that. And it slowly builds up in complexity, and you have like more complex tasks towards day 50. Again, this is I think the first of its kind that's available out there, the first of its kind that we're launching. So if you're in the process of learning cloud or any cloud-related technologies, or planning for cloud certifications, these are like hands-on cloud labs that you can access right in your browser. You don't need to create your own account. We give you the accounts, and we kind of validate your work, just like all of our other labs. So definitely check it out. Michael, have you had a chance to look around this by yourself? Like, what are your thoughts about this program?
I mean, I was excited when 100 Days of DevOps launched. I think when we did AWS and Azure, I actually have gone out there and kicked the tires on several of the tasks, right? Because cloud is one of my areas of interest. And I would say that it definitely is great because it kind of builds from a foundational level and kind of builds up a portfolio. I mean, by the time you're done, you kind of know all the fundamentals. And it's a great way for beginners in particular to kind of learn how to build stuff. But also, even if you're experienced, it kind of fills in a bunch of gaps. There were a couple of tasks that I hadn't done in a couple of years, and I was like, oh yeah, this is great. Like, day 17, day 21. Yeah. So yeah, so totally worth it. Yeah, check it out if you haven't seen it. It's a really great way to get started in cloud and to fill in any gaps if you're an experienced, engineer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the good things would be like in the future when we start having like a bit more project related stuff, like where you build a lot of things in a single environment. I think that's where it's going to get really interesting. And that's where we are really moving towards. 100 Days of Cloud Security. I think someone suggested that. I think that's a great idea too. So we're thinking of everything along these lines of like what can we do more. So if you have ideas, definitely share with us. Some of the new releases. So the CKS course has undergone an upgrade, a refresh. So we've been working on refreshing the Kubernetes courses. We try to keep those up to date like every quarter or so. So we had a couple of months back, we had updated the CKS, CKAD courses, and now we've just finished updating the CKS courses. So if you check it out right now, you'll see that a lot of its contents are updated. And you'll also see that we have released a Ultimate CKS mock exam series. So these are like 3 mock exams specifically that are catered towards the CKS certification, and this is available on KodeKloud. So definitely check that out. We had also been working on the foundational series of courses like programming foundations and database fundamentals, computer architecture, because a lot of our users who are coming from a very beginner, who are beginner level, who need a little bit more guidance towards the beginner level or the foundations courses. We've been working on some of these fundamental courses. So if you're starting out in your career, then these are really helpful material that you can start with. So check those out. On the AI side, Andre has helped us put together a AI assisted Ansible course. Again, check it out if you have time. I think a bunch of other courses around Google Cloud professional data engineer certification. So we're kind of expanding on our Google Cloud certifications a little bit. We have the OpenTelemetry certified associate course, and that's basically the part of the Golden Kubestronaut track, as well as the Kubestronaut certified associate, also part of the Golden Kubestronaut track. So if you're planning to start your journey in the Kubestronaut or Golden Kubestronaut track, then these are the courses that can come in handy.
Yeah. It seems like we continue to chase kind of like foundational kind of DevOps courses, as well as, as I'm sure everybody's interested in how does AI fit into this DevOps world, and you're seeing more and more courses from us. AI assisted, AI ops, LLM ops, ML ops. You're just seeing more and more of that from us. So for people who are curious about like what are we chasing, we're trying to make sure your fundamentals are still handled, and that we're also kind of keeping you current on the AI tracks as well. So look for more of that from us.
Yep. Right. Yeah. So these are the upcoming courses. So there's the K-Agents course, so host your AI agents on Kubernetes. We also have the DevOps professional certification course from Michael that's going to come out. Michael, maybe you can tell us a little bit about that, as well as we have the data structures algorithms and a course coming out on Google ADK. Michael, do you want to tell us where we are with the DevOps professional certification? I think that's something that a lot of people have asked for.
Yeah. Well, we're in the last probably 30 to 60 days to get to publication. As you all are probably aware, that is probably one of the largest certifications actually in the industry, because it covers everything that a developer and an operations person would do basically in AWS, but at a professional level. So, we've got a series of, obviously covering everything relevant for certification. But as always, even though it's a knowledge-based exam, we've injected a bunch of project-level labs inside of the course. And for one of the first times, we still have all of the expertise building the presentations, but we also have far more extensive demos than probably we've ever had for any of the AWS courses, so that people can actually see stuff being built before you get to the project labs, probably more than anything we've done before. So it's an extensive course, and it was fun to build, obviously a labor of love, but you're going to see it within the next 30 to 60 days come out. So and then, everybody clamors for the DevOps certification because that's one of our primary platforms. So it's coming.
Yeah, very, very excited. When you say project based labs, is that like labs with kind of full-fledged projects in it? And maybe tell us a little bit about what's covered in the DevOps professional track compared to maybe some of the other popular AWS certifications, like the Solutions Architect, Associate, or Pro.
Yeah. So, with a Solutions Architect, which is arguably AWS's most popular certification after Cloud Practitioner, you're getting a little taste of all the features relevant for almost every service across the board. Well, with DevOps, in particular, especially at the professional level, what's happening is that they're far more interested in how much you can operationally build and how much you operationally understand about pretty much every service in AWS, everything from the CI/CD pipeline services, obviously excluding code commit, but like code build, code pipeline, etc. Do you understand the ways in which we host services? Is it EC2 with virtual machines? Is it ECS and EKS on containers? Are we using Lambda? Do you understand the operational limits? Do you understand the difference between tasks and basically how deployments work between ECS and EKS? Do you understand the Fargate launch type, the virtual machine launch type? So they ask you all these kind of operational details, and they really want you to know it at a much deeper level than you would see at any associate's exam. So we match the 6 domains that are matched inside of the DevOps, professional certification. So we cover everything from, monitoring to deployment to infrastructure as code to scaling to reliability to security, all the pieces that make up the well-architected framework, but with an eye on operational excellence. So one of the things that we did that's a little different is that we knew that our labs needed to be a lot more robust to cover the professional level certification. So instead of just giving you like, hey, here's a single service, why don't you deploy CloudWatch logs and make sure that the logs are being written to an S3 bucket? It's like, well, how can we use those CloudWatch logs to trigger a pattern that then hits AWS config? Basically asking you to do multi-service configurations that match closer real-world projects that you would encounter as a DevOps engineer. In addition, I just want to say this, we've gotten a tremendous amount of feedback on the Discord channel about ways to scope the labs, and we've incorporated a lot of that feedback into how we built the kind of quasi-project demos and quasi-project labs that are actually inside the DevOps professional course. So just know also that for those of you who gave us feedback on Discord, about 90% of that was actually folded into the course if we could like do it at the time that we got it. So and so that's the whole idea, is that we didn't want to do single service demos. We didn't want to do single service labs. We wanted to do multi-service labs that represented more of the kind of DevOps scenarios that you would run into. So far more extensive than what we've done before.
Pretty cool, pretty cool. So when you say feedback from the Discord channel, okay, what do you mean? Like, is this, were we asking, like, were we surveying people like what they wanted to learn from this certification, or was it more around like general feedback, and then we're kind of taking that and integrating that into the course?
Oh, so that's a good point, because I think there's both a formal and an informal thing that we did there. Is that one, we did let people know, hey, we're working on this course, so please give us feedback. And so we solicited feedback, and some people gave us, hey, can we make sure that this is covered, and can we make sure this is, and they gave us specific services. They were like, what about this scenario? Then what also happened is that people would go and informally ask and say, hey, what's the timeline currently for DevOps Pro? And we would say, hey, we're looking at Q1 basically for 2026. And we got some of the best feedback from people who were like, oh, so have you guys thought about this? Or have you considered putting this scenario? I even have 2 PDFs from people who submitted a tremendous amount of analysis about things they would love to see inside of the exam. And so it was both formal and informal. We asked, but also people volunteered, and we took all of that feedback, and as we got it, we folded it into the course. So thank you, by the way, for those who did actually submit into Discord. Even if it was a random comment, just know that we saw it, especially if you tagged me. I was like, oh, look at this. And I pulled it right back into the curriculum with Gordon and said, hey, can we fold this into the course? Is there any issue with this? So just know, thank you, by the way, for those who gave feedback, because all of that was taken in. And I tried to respond when I saw it. So hopefully if you gave feedback, you got a response from me that said, hey, I got your feedback. I saw it. We pulled it in. So it was both formal and informal. We solicited and they volunteered it. So thank you, by the way, everybody who did that.
Yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, and that's something we do all the time, right? Like when we build new courses, I think one of the things I remember is when we build the Kubernetes courses, we actually ask people like how much do you know about networking? How much do you know about security, storage? And we actually kind of...
sound. What happened here?
Yeah, can you not hear me? Yeah, I think I'm on, right? Michael, can you hear me?
I may have lost sound. Hold on.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's audible. Yeah, and I was just saying that's something that we've done in the past too, like kind of, and it's a very kind of data-based approach in creating our courses.
I may be having technical difficulty.
Yeah, we can hear you, Michael. We can hear you. All right, so we'll just keep moving. So coming to cohorts, one of the things that we're doing now is so we've had the Kubestronaut cohorts. So basically, it's been a year since we started that. Now, thank you so much to everyone who has really contributed to these cohorts. So we had 4 cohorts last year for the Kubestronaut track, and we started with the one in January, and then we had one in April, and then we had one in July, and then we had another one in October. And as you can see, we had almost 800 of them who've joined in the first 3 cohorts. We had about 400 in October. So we're starting a new cohort now. So if you're planning to start your journey in the towards becoming a Kubestronaut or getting any of the Kubernetes certifications, this is the right time. So do join in on the cohorts. It's just basically once you sign up, you're free to join the cohorts, and then you get to be part of the Discord groups and the community, and then you kind of work together, learn together in getting your certifications. The other thing that we did was we started the Golden Kubestronaut cohort for the first time in October. And so if you're planning to move into becoming a Golden Kubestronaut, then we've started a new cohort right now in January. So it's open for the entire month until the end of January. So do join the cohort there if you're planning to be part of the Golden Kubestronaut. One of the new things that we're starting, and this is the first time that we're doing this for anything outside of Kubernetes, is basically the AWS AI Practitioner cohort. So we're starting a new cohort on AWS AI Practitioner. It should be available now. It's just launched today. So do check it out at cohorts.KodeKloud.com. Go to AWS AI Practitioner, and you'll be able to see a tab there with a cohort on that starts in January 2026 for AWS AI Practitioner. And this is basically our kind of initiative towards helping you all get, kind of learn AI and start your journey in certifications towards AI. And this is just the first step. And I guess we have a lot more AI-based courses and certifications coming out throughout the rest of the year. Michael, this is your area, the AI practitioner. I think this one's created by you. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the certification and where we are with it? What does it cover?
Yeah.
How is it different from the other certifications?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to check, you can hear me fine. Yes, cool.
Yep.
Good. All right. Yeah. So this is a foundational level exam. So this is just like Cloud Practitioner in the sense that this is one of the exams that you would start with. So this is very accessible to beginners or engineers of any type. I will just kind of caveat that by saying that almost everyone who has taken this exam gives feedback that says this is harder than a normal foundational level exam. So to frame that up, the Certified AI Practitioner is a basically $100 USD exam that has 65 questions and it's 90 minutes. And so this is something that Alariza and I worked on and updated over the last 12 months or so. And the idea here is that you come in and you basically study a core set of domains related to basically fundamentals of AI, ML, and also how AWS approaches it. Interestingly enough, 28% of the actual exam is actually about how AWS approaches AI with Bedrock. Things like Clarify, which is used to basically do explainability and traceability. And now another whole 28% of the exam is focused on AI responsibility and security combined. So oddly enough, there's two domains that represent about 14%, and there's huge overlap. And it's basically security and AI ethics. So either multiple choice, multiple response. But I also want to forewarn you, AWS has added ordering and matching questions in there as well. So if you join us for the cohort, we'll fully prepare you for all the different, 4 different types of questions that AWS has added. But now we've got matching questions where you have to match an answer with a topic. And we've got ordering questions where they're going to ask you, what is the proper order of doing something? So the exam is comprehensive, but that's what we're going to cover basically in the cohort, is that we're going to spend weeks kind of making sure that all the domains are covered, that you understand how to study, that you understand what to look for. And the course is laid out exactly like the certification. So you'll see that we cover domain 1, which is fundamentals of AI, which is about 20% of the content. This is where you talk about things like what is supervised learning, what is unsupervised learning, what is reinforcement learning. Then there's domain 2, which is the fundamentals of generative AI, which is about 25% of the exam. This is where we talk about transformers. This is where we talk about few shot, one shot, like concepts, embeddings, tokens, vectors, that kind of thing. We're going to talk about that in relation to Gen AI. And then domain 3, which is the 28%, this is the largest one. This talks about Bedrock and all of its sub-services, including a little bit about SageMaker, a little bit about Clarify. SageMaker, by the way, is kind of more of the data scientist, machine learning, kind of let's build models. Bedrock is more of let's host and consume models. And then Clarify is basically contains things like model monitor, and basically its job is to help you understand traceability, explainability, governance, pieces like that as it relates to any of the Gen AI models. And then I mentioned before, domains 4 and 5 are basically responsible AI, and then we've got security, compliance, and governance. Those combined actually represent a huge majority of the exam. So, and that's what we talk about. So we're gonna come together, and so no matter where you're at, what level you're at, we basically start at the beginning. We explain things like BERT, metrics, and how to understand temperature as it relates to randomness. We cover all those pieces. So we have a course that obviously goes through it in detail. And so what we're going to do is that when you come for the cohort, we're going to set you up to understand, a structure of like how you're going to study for that particular week. And then we're going to run through some practice questions just to give you a little sampler of the kind of things that you want to be on the lookout for as you take the video course. And then as you have questions or things come up, you ask them during the week in a dedicated Discord channel. And then every week we're going to check in and make sure that we are kind of moving you forward and that we've covered everything. And if you run into any issues at all, you post, and either fellow community members will support and answer, or I myself will actually be there like watching and participating as well. So
yeah, that's great. So for someone who is like getting started in the AI, like who's been completely out of this whole AI stuff that's been happening the past couple of years, and if they want to like get started, because I get a lot of questions from students asking like, there's a lot happening in AI. I'm not very, I haven't caught up to it by myself. Like, what do I do? Where do I start? Like, what's the kind of the minimum thing I can do to get started and things like that? Is this a good starting point for somebody like that?
Yeah, actually, this is probably arguably the starting point currently. And anybody correct me if something has happened within the last few days. There are no foundational certifications available from any like large vendor like OpenAI or Anthropic about the fundamentals of AI and ML. Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of like college level courses, and Harvard and whatnot are offering certifications. But this was one of the first official vendor certifications that kind of encompassed the fundamentals of AI. Now, it does obviously have an AWS bent, at least for the majority of the test. But this is the place to get started. There's a reason AWS said, oh, here's Cloud Practitioner. Oh, and now here's AI Fundamentals. And they put them as beginning level exams because they wanted people to have some place to start, because currently, even in January 2026, there is no real official certification kind of place to start unless you want to grab some random, certification offered by, some particular vendor. So this is, if you are fresh, you've not touched AI, you maybe know a little bit about ChatGPT, and you really want to understand all the kind of ins and outs, studying for this exam is going to give you a great foundation, not just for AWS, but for just AI in general. So highly recommended actually to start here, especially the first two domains. Domain 1 and 2 are going to lay down the foundations of AI ML and lay down the foundations of generative AI. So for a beginner, this is a great place to start.
Awesome. So and the reason you say that is because it's not like a specific, obviously there are AWS services and AWS specific things, but the course itself and the certification too, I assume, is going to start with like super basics of the fundamentals of AI, generative AI, and as you said, what are language models and things like that. And so does the certification cover those like basics? It expects the student to kind of understand those basics, right? And those are covered in this course.
Oh yeah, it's shocking actually. It's one of the complaints that a lot of professionals who are already seasoned who took the course were kind of shocked at, was that it went back and covered all of the fundamentals. Like, what is linear regression? What is an embedding? What are tokens? It started answering all the jargon questions, and people were both shocked that it started at the beginning and that it took you on a complete journey to understand basically what implementation at least slightly looks like from an AWS perspective. So it definitely covers every. It is shocking the number of just generic AI and generic ML terms that are covered inside the exam. But don't let that daunt you if you're just getting started. All of that is taught. All of that is covered. You will walk away with a thorough understanding of the basics. And so, yeah, it was one of the interesting things that when the exam came out, they were like, wow, this is actually covering generic AI and ML before it even gets to Bedrock. Yeah, so.
Okay, so the course covers most of these are fundamentals about AI, so responsible AI, all of that, security, compliance. But like, what exactly are the AWS specific things that are in here? So I know it's Bedrock. I mean, that's one thing I heard. But apart from that, what else is going in here?
So they're going to cover basically three kind of core services. They're going to cover Bedrock as the majority, a little bit of SageMaker, and then any other service that enables hosting. So for example, if you are new to AWS ecosystem and you don't know that CloudWatch is the monitoring tool that most people use, they're going to teach you a little bit about CloudWatch. Not a lot, just enough so that you understand what the service is and how it relates to generative AI. If you don't know, for example, that OpenSearch is AWS's kind of Elasticsearch clone that allows you, there's a database basically optimized for search, they're going to teach you just enough to know exactly what I just said. Do you know that OpenSearch is used for search functions and it's a database for that purpose? They're not going to ask you deep queries around things like, do you understand what nested, data structures are? They don't ask you complex data questions.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, one of the first things that we're going to do if you join us for the cohort is we're actually going to go through so that you understand which services are in scope and which services are out of scope for the exam, so you can really wrap your head around what it is that you want to study. Now, the great thing is that our course represents all of the inclusions and the exclusions, but those are the main services that are covered outside of fundamentals, is mainly SageMaker, secondarily Bedrock first, and in a very low level, any service that enables the deployment of a model or monitoring of a model, basically the operationalization of a model.
Got it. Okay. A very, very basic question. So Bedrock and SageMaker you mentioned. Can you maybe explain that a little bit? What are these two services? How do they differ?
Yeah, so SageMaker was actually one of AWS's first forays into AI and machine learning. So not generative AI, just into AI and machine learning has a general statement. And so SageMaker has about 19, I think at last count, maybe 20 sub-services underneath it. Things like SageMaker Studio, which is an integrated development environment if you want to build like an AI model and you want to validate things like training data and validation tests, those kind of things. So everything you would need basically to build a model from end to end is what SageMaker is really about. So for example, if you were a data scientist and you were like, hey, I want to get some data, identify a business problem, and then figure out how to take that data and feed it to a model and then train that particular model to now evolve into some kind of Gen AI kind of consumable service, SageMaker is what you would use to kind of create and build and test from that data to that outcome. So SageMaker is kind of like the building tool. Interestingly enough, Bedrock came out probably years after SageMaker, especially once generative AI kind of hit the scene. And Bedrock is where you go when you just want to host a model that's already trained. You don't want to create a model. You don't want to create Gen AI from scratch. That's SageMaker. You actually just want to host it. And so Bedrock is where you go really to just host a model in a sense that's already been kind of made and trained for you. This is where you can get things like Llama, right? Or Mistral, or any of kind of like the popular open source models. But Bedrock will also allow you to host some of the frontier models. Like for those of you who may be familiar with Anthropic's Claude, you can actually host a variety of the Claude models, including the latest generation, on Bedrock. So SageMaker is where you build models and deploy them. And basically Bedrock is where you actually host them, where you can just like deploy, run, and consume. So one's for building, one's for hosting. And those are the two primary services that are covered.
Awesome. So from what I understand, the certification covers only a few of the AWS specific services. But why do people say that it's kind of, what is that, one of the toughest, hardest exams? Is it because there are new formats in it, like the drag and drop or the matching, the reordering type of questions, or is it because the knowledge required is, I guess, very different from what we're all very used to, from our kind of operational background?
So I missed the first part of that question. Could you repeat just the very first,
the last part?
Yeah, no. So I was just asking because it looks like the certification covers like maybe 2 to 3 of the key AWS services, right? But as you said, a lot of people are saying that it's one of the toughest exams or something like that. Why is that so?
Yes.
Is it because of the type of questions, or is it because the knowledge required is basically new to a lot of us based on our operational background?
Yeah, so I think it's because it's new, right? I don't think many of us knew, for example, what a Rouge score or a BERT score was until all of a sudden we're being asked these questions, because I don't think most of us were operating in an AI ML space. Like those weren't metrics that we were learning or tracking. We weren't learning concepts around supervised learning or unsupervised. And so I think it's like Kubernetes was back in 2015, 16, 17. It's just a new concept. It's things that we haven't been exposed to before, and it's been around, but it wasn't like core for a lot of our like domains and expertise. And so a lot of people are saying that the exam is harder because it does cover fundamentals that normally you would pick up if you were a data scientist, or if you were a data engineer, or if you were in kind of that space. And so that's why I think, because of the newness of the concepts, the ordering and matching actually isn't that tough. Oddly enough, the ordering questions are actually fairly intuitive if you've touched AWS for even half a second, which is, of course, something that we do a lot when we run the cohorts, right, to make sure you have the experience. But that's the main thing, is that the newness of the concepts requires us to kind of like reframe things, because it's not like we walk around and we're like, hey, is this labeled data or is this unlabeled data? And like, we don't think about clustering and anomaly detection, but the exam, basically trains you on how to understand what those terms are and where to apply them. So that's the difficulty, is that it's just the newness of concepts.
Yeah, I think Charisma mentioned in the chat the same thing that you said. She took the exam. It was the new terminology of the AI domain and not just memorizing the AWS services, right? So yeah, spot on.
Yeah. And I would say that, that's one of the things that we've really done, I think, a good job in the course, is to make sure that the fundamentals are covered before we get to the AWS services.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, AWS services are actually relatively straightforward to understand, especially at a practitioner level, what they do and what they're covering. But if you don't have an understanding of what the fundamentals are as far as Gen AI and basically AI ML, it makes understanding what those services are used for. Like, for example, SageMaker has a Clarify subservice that basically does explainability, governance, transparency, all, the 6 attributes of responsible AI. And if you don't know what the 6 attributes are, then you won't know why you need Clarify. You won't know how to answer the question about, if I need explainability, do I use Clarify? Do I use CloudWatch? Do I use config? And it's like, we do a good job of making sure that you understand what the fundamentals are, so that when you're asked questions later on about services, you're like, okay, got it. This is related to this fundamental piece, and this is the service you use for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's also a new certification that's come out from AWS, which is that like a Gen AI developer certification or something?
Yeah, they've come out with a new professional certification. This is kind of a big deal, actually. And I'm actually I'm taking the beta actually next week.
Okay.
And what's interesting about this is that this is the first professional certification that they've released, I want to say, in 8 or 9 years. It's been a minute since they've had a professional certification. And the fact that they have the AI fundamentals, which we're running a cohort for, and they have data engineering and machine learning associates at the associates level, for them to now offer a professional level exam that's the Gen AI Developer Professional. So we've got generative AI, we're developer, and we're working at a professional level. This is a big deal. And I will tell you this, is that it's a 185-minute exam, 75 questions. And the feedback is like, you need all the time to answer these questions, because it is an intense professional level exam. But the one thing they did say is that if you did the foundational AI and you do machine learning associates, then getting to the professional level is actually much easier than if you just go cold. So just know, we're already looking at this exam. We've already framed it up. We're looking at curriculum. And so we're going to, be prioritizing this as soon as it makes sense, probably in Q2, Q3. So you're going to see it come out from us. But yeah, we are super excited that a vendor has come out with yet another generative AI exam, even if it is somewhat AWS centric, to kind of cover like, how do we implement, how do we develop, how do we deploy, Gen AI at scale. So yeah, super excited about the professional level exam from AWS.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Well, good luck to you for the beta next week. Let us know how it goes. Maybe on the next session you can tell us all about it.
Oh yeah, if I come in all kind of like teary-eyed and like, oh, it was so intense, I'll or joyful, woo, I got it. I'll let you know either way.
All right. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. So if any of you are interested in the AI practitioner side of things, and of course the future AI courses that we'll be launching, if you need, if you're planning to start your certification in this journey, and then learn together with the others in a group, then join the AWS AI practitioner cohorts. It's available at cohorts.kodekloud.com. So just go in there, log into KodeKloud, and apply. All right, just checking the progress for the previous cohorts. So last year around the same time was when we first introduced the Kubernetes cohorts. The first 2 cohorts should have completed by now. So by now, we've had a lot of people who have completed their Kubestronaut journey and become Kubestronauts. And we have a couple of other cohorts that are still undergoing. And you can see the progress of the different cohorts if you go to the cohorts.kodekloud.com. Finally, if you have any plans of, if you're in Europe or if you have plans to travel to Europe towards the end of Q1, do come meet us at KubeCon Europe. We're a Silver sponsor, and we'll be there in Amsterdam. If you need a ticket, you can use the code KodeKloud to get a 30% off from Linux Foundation. So if you haven't planned yet, do plan to be there. And you have a couple of months to prepare your travel and make it there. So 23rd to 26th March, we're going to be there. All of us are going to be there, me, Michael, and the rest of our team. And yeah, it would be great to meet you in person if you're there. For the others, there's also a KubeCon happening in India later this year. So if you happen to be in India or in the region, you can meet us there. We're going to be there too. All right, so maybe if there are any questions in the chat, we can take some of them. I think one of the recent questions is like what to do if you get stuck on a lab assignment due to lab configuration issues. So at times you may run into challenges with the labs when I mean, it could be either ways. It's something you did right, and then maybe something broke in the lab, or and if that's the case, you can just refresh the lab, restart it. But at other times, we've seen that it's probably something that you probably haven't done right, and the verification does not pass. In that case, there's an AI assistant in the lab, and if you just ask the AI assistant the problem, most of the time it can tell you exactly what's wrong, right? So that's another challenge. That's another way to solve it. Another way, and if you're still not able to solve, then do join our Discord channel and drop a question there. One of our community members, or maybe another person who's going along the same journey as you, may be able to help. So join the Discord channel and raise your question there.
Yeah, I saw another question about the CMPE exam, the Cloud Native Platform Engineer, not the associates one, but the new one that's coming out.
Yeah.
So there was a question about, will we have CMPE around the time that they make it as part of Golden Kubestronaut? And the answer is that that is one of our priorities, actually. So we are actively chasing and looking at the CMPE exam. I can't promise that we'll have it exactly on March 1st. I know that we're going to do our best to get as close as possible. We know that it's going to be part of the new Golden Kubestronaut because they keep kind of adding certifications to Golden Kubestronaut. So we are keeping an eye on it. We've already started prepping for it. So we are looking at CMPE and we are chasing it to see if we can have it ready for you, because we have every other certification. So why wouldn't we have CMPE? So yeah, just give us a minute, but we'll give you better updates as we get closer to March. Also, we'll see exactly when they release and fold it in as well. So we'll keep you updated.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, there's a mention about NVIDIA. So you're talking about the AI certification and vendors. Outside of AWS, what are some of the popular ones you have seen? Like, are there any really popular AI certifications out there that are getting a lot of traction?
So all of the hyperscale cloud providers, so Azure, AWS, and Google, GCP, as you know, do have either AI direct or AI adjacent certifications. So kudos to them, because they're still making it easy to deploy infrastructure services, and they're offering certifications that offer adjacency. I would say that from a market share perspective, AWS is kind of top, Azure is second, GCP is third, and chasing any of those relevant certifications for your cloud provider around AI is appropriate. Then there's NVIDIA. NVIDIA is interesting because currently they have 10 certifications in their space. 4 of them are infrastructure certifications, and 6 of them are developer certifications. And when I say developer certifications, I mean data science, like hardcore ML specialty certifications, like PyTorch, TensorFlow at a deep level, some LangChain. I haven't seen a whole lot of LangGraph in there, but we are tracking those certifications. But NVIDIA is the other big certification provider, as you can imagine, since they're providing both enabling enterprise software and enabling hardware. So I would say keep an eye on them. They are one of the few that are offering somewhat vendor neutral. I say somewhat because they do lionize their particular software, but they've got a lot of infrastructure certifications that we're not seeing anybody else do, including networking, basic like AI operations, stuff that I'm not seeing the hyperscale cloud providers necessarily follow. There's no, for example, generative AI operations certification yet, but NVIDIA has 3 of them. So, I think we're kind of keeping an eye on it. We already have one of the certifications is already out and done. We're looking at the others. But NVIDIA is probably the only other one that we're seeing that is actually actively pushing. I mean, they have 10 certifications. That's more than any other vendor combined on AI, just so we're clear. So I would keep an eye on NVIDIA because they kind of keep making inroads, and they keep, obviously they're kind of a pioneer from this, but they're the ones to keep an eye on next. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I know that you've done one yourself. What was that? And what's like the most basic NVIDIA certification out there?
So I actually went on the developer side first and did the GenL certification, which is basically just LLM and AI basics. It's one of their associate level certifications. Don't be fooled, by the way. Their associate level certifications are probably like AI Cloud Practitioner for AWS. They're a little harder than just a standard kind of foundational certification, and they're a little bit harder even than associate certifications. So I did the one that ends in GenL, not the one that ends in GenM, right? So there's an NCA GenL and there's an NCA GenM. I did the GenL certification, and I've actually studied for the GenM certifications and for the AIO certification, which is infrastructure. So I will say that those certifications require specialized study of the NVIDIA ecosystem, plus some generics like PyTorch, TensorFlow, that kind of thing. And I would highly recommend looking at our course on the whole thing, but definitely they don't have great study guides yet. I'm waiting for NVIDIA to kind of like publish more study guides because they're kind of moving really fast. But currently, if you need any more information around that, we've run NVIDIA cohorts. So we have guides for practically every one of the certifications. We even have some practice exams informally for the NVIDIA certification. So if you want more of that, let us know on Discord, hit us up, post onto our homepage that you want more of the course, and we will actually prioritize that. But currently, just know that we have practice exams and information on every one of the exams. We're just kind of waiting to see what the interest is. So if you're interested, let us know, and that can happen really fast. So yeah. And we've run cohorts before, like I've said.
Yeah. There's another mention about CKNE. So that's the new Kubernetes certification that's coming out that's focused on the networking side of things. So yeah, absolutely. We're also working towards that. That's on our watch list. And I think we're going to get started working on it, right? I'm not sure when it's going to be out, but it was just announced a few months back.
Yeah, I think we're looking at Q2 for us because we haven't seen the date publication for them. But yeah, there were several people who asked about like, can we have more networking for Kubernetes? We got you. Yeah. Not only is there a certification, but we're heading in that direction as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Do I need to get CK? I need to get Kubestronaut. I don't know if it's part of the. They have announced that yet, right?
Wait, clarify. What was the question?
Do we need to? Is CKNE going to be part of the Kubestronaut track? I'm not sure really.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm not either. We haven't heard yet, and we've asked, right? Like I know you've asked and I've asked, and so we haven't heard yet whether or not it's going to be. I think just to say this, there is an assumption that it will be, because it is a Kubernetes certification. It is core operational. I don't know that they're going. This is speculative. I'm making this up. I don't know that they're going to put it in Kubestronaut. They're probably going to put it in Golden Kubestronaut. I just made that up, but I'm pretty sure that's where they're headed.
Yeah. And there's another question. Kubernetes needs a detailed course which helps to support the production environment. So I think most of our courses, obviously, we start from the beginner level. So we have the absolute beginner courses, and then we have these CKA, CKD, CKS certification courses that can still be considered as still associate level, beginner level courses, right? But I think the day 2 of Kubernetes, most of those are covered under, I guess, a lot of the courses that are in the Golden Kubestronaut track, right? So there's a course on Prometheus. I guess it covers how to monitor Kubernetes or how to integrate it with Kubernetes. There's the course on Istio, obviously expands on Kubernetes. What are your thoughts on that? Is that or are there other topics that we should be looking at?
So I think there was a thought of at least one more kind of like day 2 operations course around Kubernetes, right? And Mumshad, I know you kind of teed me up for that, but we've had conversations, I think, around like what does a day 2 course look like? Because you're right, we've got coverage for Cilium, we've got coverage for GitOps, we've got coverage for monitoring with Prometheus, we've got observability, like, and so that's great that we're kind of stringing all this together, and we try to make it as real world as possible. But what if you're walking into a cluster and it's like, oh, I'm walking in cold. What do I need to know about the cluster? What are the issues that we run into? What are people doing out there in production? And I think, one of the thoughts that we had is not only day 2 Kubernetes, but day 2 Kubernetes under regulatory compliance, right? Like day 2 Kubernetes, and we've got these constraints, and day 2, and we're doing military, and day 2, we've got GDPR restrictions, and day 2, we're shooting for SOC 2. Like, how do we get some of those variants into play? And so we are looking at a small list, but a very specific list about how to do some day 2 courses. So outside of certifications, outside of any beginner aspect. So look for that because it's coming.
Yeah. Cool. All right. I think that's about it. I think there are some questions around, I guess, job security in this area. I mean, in this era of AI. I think someone's asked, I worked 5 years as a IT support, recently graduated from cloud computing bachelor degree, been applying for cloud jobs for the last 5 months. Do you have any insights into the job market right now, how it's changing, and what's going to happen in the future?
Yeah, that's a big question, right? Because I think we're seeing a lot of changes, especially coming off of 2025's kind of relatively interesting job market, where there were a tremendous amount of layoffs, but also a tremendous amount of hiring happened.
Yeah.
So it was really kind of, it seemed like, oh, we lost a bunch of jobs, but then a bunch of people got hired. And so it's really weird because I think we kind of lionized the losses, but there were also a bunch of gains. I would say this is that at more than any other time in my 30-year career, AI is being adopted as a disruptive force quicker than anything I've ever seen. Quicker than platform engineering, Kubernetes, cloud, social media, mobile, internet. I was there for all of that. And I would say that it's being adopted at a faster rate. So, for those, first of all, let me just have some, honest empathy for a second, that if you're in this space and you're struggling, I hear you. I feel you. I've been there. It's tough. And also know that there is agency here. There's control, right, to a certain degree. What people are looking for is they want the traditional DevOps skills, and they want to know that you can at least understand and insert AI into your workflow. That's the thing that we're seeing. And so what's interesting is that our advocacy before would be like, hey, just learn Terraform and Ansible and Kubernetes and all that stuff, and you still need to. Don't let that go, right? And you've got to learn how, for example, Cursor fits into the equation, or how to use ChatGPT or Claude, or even more sophisticated, how do we put agents into these systems? And I know it's a big ask because some of you are just at the beginning of your career and you're like, I've got to learn Kubernetes and I've got to learn AI. And it's like, I'm so sorry. I wish I could take you back 20 years with me, but this is kind of where we're at, right? Just know that we're here to help, right? That's why we're doing the AI fundamentals. Is that if you're already looking at Kubernetes and you're learning those pieces, we want to bring you into the fundamentals of Gen AI and AI and ML, because that's the world we're going to live in now. It's going to be both worlds, right? But here's the great thing. Operationalization DevOps for LLMs and for generative AI and for ML is not going away. Don't get me wrong, it's changing. But someone's going to need to care, feed, deploy, monitor, and scale these systems, even if you're just interacting with another system that scales those systems. So, come with us. But I understand the job market's tough. The main thing is that you're just going to have to start injecting AI into your workflow while still juggling the DevOps kind of insertion and learning. And I would offer this, is that if you're running into a dead end around getting inroads into a company, obviously sending more signals around what's in your portfolio, what projects are you working on, awesome. But also, I recommended this to almost everybody, get into the open source community. Go pick an AI adjacent project like K-Agent or K-Serve or K-Flow, something like that, and go talk to the community. Even if you don't have engineering skills, they need people who will show up, who will do proofreading, who will help in some form or fashion, and all of them have entry-level invitations to how you can help the community. There are so many struggling projects out there from an open source perspective, and by creating those connections, those human community connections, you'll be surprised at the opportunities that'll pop up. So, more AI into your DevOps workflow, maybe a little bit more portfolio, make sure you're signaling right in your GitHub repos and that you've got projects, and then go get involved in the community. If you're really stuck, go get involved in the community, say, hey, how can I help? And then see where that leads. Those are my kind of 3 suggestions right now in 2026.
Yeah, perfect.
Anything to add to that?
So I've been thinking this, as they say, these, so the LLMs that, we were used to in ChatGPT and other kind of top models, they say that it's only trained on like a very small percentage of the entire world's data, because most data is private, right? Like it's trained on all the public data, but it's never been trained on like all the internal and the private data. And I can't stop wondering the amount of work that would be needed to kind of train these internal models that should work within the companies, right? So everything that these public models have done, I'm assuming that there's going to be a lot of similar work being done inside companies in building their own internal models that are trained on their own internal data, and building these either ChatGPT-like or in other agentic systems internally within the company. I mean, a ChatGPT-like interface, but backed by agentic systems. So the amount of work that's going to be going in there in building these systems internally is going to be humongous, right? And I think that's probably where the what you mentioned, the jobs that are coming up is right. And I think the right thing to do would then be to train yourself on the fundamentals of AI and get yourself ready to be prepared for some of those opportunities.
Yeah, I would say there's probably 5 areas that make sense there, right? Is that understanding generative AI, right? Just as a general kind of statement, which is why we're doing AI fundamentals. Understanding tool addition, which mainly centers around MCP. So for those of you listening who don't know, you want to know Gen AI as a generic statement, particularly around LLMs, MCP as a tool editor, right? You want to understand RAG as a context setter, right? So if you don't know what those MCP and RAG are, you want to throw those in there. You want to understand agentic, right? So, when we talk about AI agents, what are we talking about, right? Independent, semi-autonomous to autonomous, like running for long periods of time with context in RAG and with tool use in MCP. And then the last piece, which is the emerging piece, is basically agent-to-agent communication. How do agents orchestrate and cover other agents? So if you are brand new to this space, especially if you come into the AI fundamentals, we're going to talk about Gen AI. We're going to be mentioning a few pieces around MCP because that is actually part of the exam. We will talk about RAG because that's also part of the exam. And we will talk about agentic AI because that's part of Bedrock. And the agent-to-agent piece is kind of emerging. So you won't necessarily see that in fundamentals, but you will pick that up with us. But those are the 5 real AI topics that every DevOps engineer must know. And you still have to know how to monitor and scale and create reliability and do security. But those are the 5 topics I would pick up if you are getting into this space and you're still doing DevOps, is focus on those 5 core fundamentals.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Michael, for all the insightful advice, and I hope to see everyone here in the next couple of check-in sessions that are going to happen every week from now. So do stay tuned. And thank you all for joining. Thank you so much, Michael, once again. And we'll probably see you next time. All right.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Thank you.